financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is kind of a funny one. It's called The Innocent Spouse. Speaking of which, Jenny Lingl.
I don't know.
Hi.
She doesn't look that innocent to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, Ken. Good to be
Innocent
here.
spouse is a tax term. That's why I said, speaking of you, Jenny Lingl, our tax expert. Pat Simasco.
Yes, I'm always the innocent one in the family.
I'm always right.
The not
I
so
know.
innocent spouse.
Hey,
Brian
you know
Small.
what? Sure. And the real question is there such a thing?
Of course there is.
Legally, yes.
We're looking at the innocent spouse right now. All right, so let's talk about it. Here's the issue. Married filing joint tax returns, husband and wife. The general rule on tax liability, if you file married filing joint, you're both liable for the entire tax liability. And you're not only liable, correct me if I'm wrong, Jenny, but you're not only liable for the tax liability shown on the return, but for any additional liability that proves to be owed from that tax return as a result of audit or mistakes and so forth.
That's correct. If your spouse failed to report some income or maybe added some expenses that weren't correct or they couldn't prove, and all of a sudden you find you owe another $25,000 when you thought you were free and clear, as the spouse, you will be held liable.
All right, so husband and wife. So I'm married to Bonnie. Bonnie and I, we filed married filing joint. I basically hand the return to her. I say to her, honey, sign the return right there. Here's federal and state. We don't really discuss it at all, and I go and file it. All of a sudden, it turns out that Bonnie doesn't realize it, but I owe $200,000 in tax. Now, let's get into the hypothetical situation. I pass away, or we get divorced. And all of a sudden, Bonnie says, I didn't know I owe $125,000 in tax. All I did was sign the return. I didn't have anything to do with his business. We never even talked about that stuff. How does that play out? In this instance, Bonnie would be the quote-unquote innocent spouse. Now, if it was a divorce situation, I'd be saying, you did too. No, I told you everything. You were completely aware of every single thing that was ever done. Don't claim that you're the innocent spouse.
That happened to you a long time ago, buddy. That happened to you a long time ago.
It's okay, Ken. We were just acting.
It's okay,
yeah.
Ken.
This
it's
is just
okay.
fiction. But anyway, the innocent spouse is sitting there saying, I didn't know about this. Is there anything she can do or he can do? It can be completely the reverse way.
Absolutely. So when we talk about innocent spouse, we're really talking about three forms of relief. One is innocent spouse. The second is separation of liability, and the third is equitable relief. In this instance, because it arose from, in your situation, the first was she signed the return, and that she knew of the tax liability when she signed the return, we would be looking at equitable relief.
Well, she might say, I didn't even know that there was a tax liability on the return. All I did was sign it. Were you charged with knowledge of having known it, or can she say, I really didn't know about the liability?
Well, we will say she didn't know about the liability, but since the IRS has carved out an exception that says if you did know, we would again ask under the equitable relief because it makes the most sense that when you sign the return, the liability was there.
Can you argue both? One, that you didn't know, and two, that if in the alternative, that if you are charged with knowing, that you get the equitable relief regardless?
Right. We don't even really need to get that far because that's what the whole purpose of the equitable relief is. The equitable relief says that the liability has to stem from items of your spouse, first of all. So if, Ken, you and Bonnie were audited and all of a sudden, or if you signed the return and there was a $100,000 liability, it was because she cleaned out one of her IRA accounts or had employment and didn't pay taxes on, she would not be the innocent spouse. You might be.
What if I told her to clean out her IRA and she did it and she didn't even realize that's what she was doing?
She's probably going to be stuck at that point with the tax liability, and at that point I would be discussing with the divorce attorney, because a lot of divorce attorneys will call me because they'll put in the divorce decree that says, well, we're allocating the tax liability to this spouse.
What about the spouse that, not a divorce situation?
Wait. That's an important point. Just because it says that one spouse is responsible for all of the tax liability.
Your IRS doesn't care about it.
And the husband's made responsible, and the wife, and he says, and I'll hold the wife harmless.
In the divorce.
In the divorce decree. That's between the two of them, between the IRS and the two of them. The IRS is still going to hold both of them responsible for 100% of the liability.
What about
unless you
separation
can
of
use
liability?
Right, but absolutely. First, in that case, what we would do, Brian, is usually we try to get the divorce attorney to get the spouse to pay it, bring a check when we're signing that decree, or figure
Doesn't
that
have
out.
the cash.
Good luck on that.
Right, but sometimes it's a possibility, and they're using that as a negotiation tool. Well, I'll pay the taxes and you pay X. So it's something that needs to be
So
taken into
if
consideration.
you can't do that, is there another remedy?
Well, the separation of liability
What is that?
is not really going to work, because separation of liability is when you have to be either divorced or legally separated, and it couldn't have been something that was on the return when you signed it. It has to arise later.
Let me ask the other one that comes up. The wife, the spouse, doesn't have to be this. The spouse doesn't even sign the return. The other spouse is signing the spouse's name. Does that constitute a signature, or can you then say, I have no liability, I never really signed the return, and it was fraudulent?
At that point, we would claim innocent spouse relief, because we would say it was not a return. At that point, we would probably have to file a married filing separate return, or sometimes I find that one spouse files married filing joint, doesn't tell their spouse that they're doing that, and the spouse goes ahead and also files their married filing separate return, because it's their understanding they're going to keep things separate.
So it's complicated, but you're saying in the situation, normally if you've got I'm going to use it generically, the innocent spouse where she really, or he didn't really realize what was going on here, there are avenues of getting out from under that tax liability.
Absolutely. It's just, it gets complicated in which of the three that you're going to apply
Now,
for.
is IRS reasonable about dealing with this?
For the most part, they're reasonable if you do it in the appropriate format, and we can also petition the U.S. tax court if we're denied.
I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I want to get a little bit on the procedure of doing that, and then we'll go from there.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, Dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, so back to innocent spouse.
Yeah, let me ask the question before we get into finish up.
Hold on, innocent spouse. Pat, go ahead and ask your
Thank
question.
you, because this is taxes, and I really don't see too much of it in my office, but I hear all the time the innocent spouse. Do I have to pay my husband's credit cards? He just passed away.
No.
And the next one is, my husband died, my boyfriend died, I'm the innocent widow, I'm the innocent ex-girlfriend. Can I get kicked out of the house? That's another big question.
You weren't on the house?
Never on the house. Or sometimes they are on the house.
So girlfriend, husband or boyfriend dies, he's the owner of the house, girlfriend living in the house, and boyfriend's children wants to throw her out of the house.
Yes.
And there's
She's
no
got a big
provision
problem.
in a will or a trust or anything like that for the
Yes.
for that person to stay in the house.
Yes.
Yeah,
Get her out of
they're
the
getting
house.
out. They're
Let's
getting
sell
out.
that house and get
Get
the
her
money.
out, Dad. Yeah. You know what? Yesterday, like I said, out of the 5 cases I had yesterday, 3 of them, it was the women that owned the house, and the man was living in the house.
Get him out of the house and let's sell the house.
You know, one of the
But
that's one of
what
the-
rights?
But that's one of the biggest
None.
problems that you have today, in that an unmarried couple has to protect each other through
Yes.
a will and a trust rather than
Absolutely.
or deeds or things like that.
This we always hear. My kids would never do that.
Oh,
Bulls.
well, yes, they would.
Everything changes the moment after the funeral.
Listen,
Actually,
Absolutely.
before the
Yeah.
funeral.
It's-
It
it's-
changes
They start circling the
between
wagons.
death and funeral service.
It all becomes all about money.
Yeah.
And you have to protect each other. If you intend to protect your boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, live-in, relation, whatever it is, you are going to make sure through proper estate planning that your assets
Absolutely.
go where
Yeah.
they want.
You can
Yeah,
plan it. You can plan
You
it.
can protect that girlfriend,
Boyfriend.
boyfriend in your estate plan by providing in a trust and saying
That's the key.
has the right to live there for the rest of his life. You have to deal with who's
pay the
responsible for
mortgage.
Or
maintaining the
give him the
property.
house, give her the house,
Mortgage.
whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's go
You
back.
need to address
You
it.
had said, do we have to pay the ex-spouse's credit cards? Well, it also comes up with people who have filed married filing separate, or sometimes there's some trust fund tax liability of the spouse, is they'll say, well, do I have to pay my spouse who's now deceased tax liability? And the answer is no, but the IRS can go after your spouse's estate. So sometimes there's a reason to do estate planning kind of in the reverse, to have things pass not through the estate
Right.
and going straight to the spouse.
Classic example on that. So husband passes away. He has a $200,000 payroll tax liability. Wife's not on the hook for that liability, but husband's estate is. You have to be very careful to make sure that through the estate plan, there's nothing in husband's estate when he passes
Right.
away.
You may be better off in that situation making sure everything goes through life insurance and through a ladybird deed rather than going through a trust.
I had to just tell this one story that husband died. The one bank account, wife wasn't on it, so that had to go through probate. Walked out, he had an $80,000 credit card bill, a bunch of credit cards. And she looks at him, what's all this credit card bill? Jewelry to his girlfriend.
Oh, geez.
And so the girlfriend got all the jewelry, but the bank account had to go through probate and the creditors got the money. So the wife, she wanted to dig his butt up and kill him again.
But in
Wait,
this,
did I read about
I
that?
know, a few years ago. Yeah.
but in this instance, as Brian said, we wouldn't have. Some people say, "Well, I'm going to have my life insurance go into a trust or go into my estate." Sometimes it's like, "No, let's back up. If you have
If there's
tax
debt.
liability, we might want it to go straight to the spouse. If you own the home jointly and there's a lien on that home, when your spouse passes away, the lien expires as well. So that
Unless
is
it's a
something
mortgage.
Yep.
that people don't.
On the credit
tax
cards.
lien.
I see that
Oh, the
all the
tax
time.
lien,
Where,
yeah.
let's suppose you have things prepared correctly, so that when husband passes away, all of his assets are already passed on transfer of death to the wife. So there's nothing in his estate to go after, and husband has $50,000 of credit card debt. I've had several circumstances where Wife in that circumstance, who's traumatized from the illness that the husband went through and the whole process of him passing away, and wife is then obtaining the benefit of life insurance, so wife has a significant amount of money, feels some compulsion to pay that credit card bill. And I've had to sit there and say, don't do it. Please don't do it. At least, and I've gone so far as had to have an argument saying, if you're that determined, at least do me this favor. Wait 2 months, come back and see me, and then let's talk about it. And after the grieving process is over, and wife, it doesn't have to be wife, but spouse realizes, I need the rest of this money to live on for the rest of my life, then she comes back and she says, do we have to pay this bill? I say, no, you don't have to pay the bill. I told you you didn't have to pay the bill. And good, and then we throw it away. And what do? You write on the bill, deceased, and you mail it back. They call, you say to them, he passed away. There's no estate, there's nothing to pay. They don't go after you. You need to be smart about that thing. That's the hardest thing for the spouses and the kids to understand, that they do not owe that debt. That is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
And even if the estate owes the debt, you publish a notice. Unless the creditor files the claim within the notice period, they don't have the right to collect it even against the estate. Credit card companies are frivolous when it comes to pursuing that.
And they're not our friends.
No, and they make so much money on their interest and everything else, they don't even go after those things aggressively anyway.
Well, those are more difficult. They go after the easy ones.
Yeah,
for the
low-hanging fruit, as
Yep.
you would always say. All right, there's also a domestic violence exception, isn't there, Jenny?
Yes, absolutely. So if you signed the return and you knew of the liability, or if you signed the return and you knew that there was unreported income or expenses that were inflated, if you did that under duress, then that does not count against you.
When Bonnie,
I don't want
what
to use
about
the
when
Bonnie
Bonnie
example.
sees that show and she beats the heck out of Ken? I think that's justifiable.
How about this? My name's Fred, I'm married to Mary, and I say to him, Mary, you sign this return or I'm going to throw you out of the house. Would that be duress?
Absolutely.
We'll be back after the break.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Will I outlive my money?
Medicaid is so confusing.
A will, or do I need a trust?
What if mom needs to go in a nursing home?
At Samasco Law, we have the answers to all of these questions. Our attorneys will eliminate the confusion and develop a plan that's right for you. We are dedicated to veterans benefits, assisted living, and nursing home care. Samasco Law can help prepare you for a long future. Call Samasco Law today.
Nothing provokes panic and fear like the threat of a school shooting. Unfortunately, we've seen a sharp increase in students making copycat threats in order to gain notoriety. I'm Macomb County Prosecutor Eric Smith. Students, this behavior will not be tolerated. Felony charges will be brought against anyone who threatens the safety of our schools. Parents, please talk to your children and pass along this message. If you threaten our schools, it will cost you your future.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
Time for announcements. Want to remind our viewers to listen to us Tuesdays 11:30 a.m. and Saturdays 7 o'clock a.m. for Law and Reality Live on Praise 102.7. Also on Saturdays 11 o'clock a.m. 103.5 The Light for Law and Reality Now. Be sure and sign up for our monthly contest. Free $50 Visa gift card, Law and Reality hat, and copy of my book Dump Your Debt. Just go to the website, sign up, and you're entered. We have a seminar coming up Wednesday, August 22nd, 6 to 7:30 p.m., Estate Planning for the Later Years. We're going to go through the elements of an estate plan, documents you must have while you're living, Pat Samasco, our elder law expert, is going to lead us through nursing home and extended care, Medicaid planning, and aid and attendance benefits for vets. Attendees get a free $300 gold certificate off the cost of an estate plan. Sign up thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, or call 888-235-HELP. Also remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. Just go to the website or call 888-235-HELP. Debt and estate planning issues with Brian, tax issues with Jenny, elder law issues with Pat Samasco, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner, business issues with myself. Sign up at lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. Also, go to the website and check out our free reports, How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure, Business Formations and Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan. Also, the Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Samasco. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Samasco Law. Now back to the show.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, so we've been talking about innocent spouse. Let's do a little quick case study, one or two. Sam and Mary, not Bonnie and Ken. Sam and Mary. Sam's been filing returns for years and just signing Mary's name to the return.
It's really Bonnie and Ken. You just switch the names, though? Is that what it is? That?
Sam and Mary to protect the innocent.
I think it's more likely Bonnie and Clyde at this point. But.
Sam, may he rest in peace, dies. He's got $250,000 of taxes due on a married filing joint return. Life insurance goes to Mary, $250,000. Mary has her own IRA of $50,000.
Right.
Is Mary, first of all, general rule, is Mary liable for the $250,000 tax debt, Jen?
Yes, if Mary doesn't do anything, the IRS will hold Mary liable and they will come after the life insurance and her IRA.
So Mary doesn't do any, doesn't watch Law and Reality Sundays at 11, doesn't seek any advice, gets a letter from IRS, says you owe $250,000. She gets the insurance money, she cashes it out, she mails a check to IRS, pays off the tax liability, keeps her $50,000 IRA, and moves on with her life.
Sounds like a
Is that what
horrible
she should
idea.
do?
No.
Big mistake?
Big mistake.
Like from Pretty Woman, really big mistake?
I love that part, yes,
Well, here,
absolutely.
I'm going to ask, enhance the question. Is it not only a big mistake, but she's done it? Can it be undone through the innocent spouse?
That was my,
Getting a
that
check
was, that was
back
my
from the
later
IRS?
follow-up question.
There is a way to request a refund, and that's going to have to go under equitable. So what the IRS did is the innocent spouse used to have to be filed within 2 years from the date that the IRS tried to collect against you. And that took a lot of spouses out of it because they'd say, you knew because we levied you in your husband's bank account.
We've been sending notices.
Right, we've been sending notices. So when the IRS took that 2-year part off for the equitable relief, it really opened it up. And the equitable relief is kind of the catch-all. So they're going to look at whether or not it should be fair. Now, if you've sent the money in, it's going to make your case much, much harder. And in that case, when you've sent the money in, we will have to restart that 2 years because you have to claim a refund within 2 years from the time the money was taken or that you paid it in. And it's definitely going to complicate matters.
But you think you might be able to get it back?
It's possible.
All right, let's start with A. Mary didn't send it in because Mary is an avid viewer of Law and Reality. She saw the show, and when Sam died, she called Jenny, and she says, Jenny, this is what happened. Do I have to pay the money in? Jenny says, no. What do you do?
At that point, what I would do is I would file the innocent spouse. Now, when we say innocent spouse, it's the same form whether you're requesting the separation of liability or you're requesting the equitable relief. It's just there's different portions of it. In Mary, since she signed the return,
no, she didn't sign a return in my hypothetical.
And she didn't sign the return?
Sam signed for her.
We could,
with her permission.
We would, well, at that point.
We fudge on that fact.
Well, it doesn't really matter.
Sam's not around to testify.
And that's another point
Mary
that we
signed a
didn't
power of
make
attorney, though,
is
and
that
both had
they are going to notify your spouse or your ex-spouse when you file for innocent spouse, even if there's domestic violence.
Even if the ex-spouse is dead?
They will still send a notice to his estate.
Oh, okay.
So in that instance, we'd be looking for equitable relief.
You're going to get her off the hook?
Absolutely. And what I also...
So she keeps the $250,000 of life insurance?
She does.
Doesn't go to his estate?
It doesn't go through his estate, so she's going to keep that.
And she keeps her IRA.
What if there was $250,000 not of life insurance? What if the beneficiary of the life insurance policy was the estate of Sam?
Worst idea.
That's a
bad news.
Huge problem.
That would be SOL.
Well, in that case, we're not going to be looking at innocent spouse.
Sorry, out of luck for the record.
We're going to be looking at trying to request a payment plan from her and hoping that the IRS doesn't make a claim against the estate. So she could keep the $250,000 in the estate to use it? Right, and sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes if we look at her life expectancy, we can make an argument to the IRS, please let her keep it because based on your table of allowable expenses, she's not going to...
Key planning point here is what I was trying to bring out is if you have tax liability, how you have your life insurance designated, who the owner of the policy is and who the beneficiary of the policy are critical factors that if done right, you can protect that money, and if done wrong, you can throw it out the window.
And you have to do it before you die.
Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.